United States, and the APAC region. I've been using HubSpot and many of these trends for just over 2.5 years now. So on this call, I hope to give everybody a user's perspective on how these 5 trends will help drive marketing growth for 2015.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrew. Look forward to that. So let's start with just a bit of a recap, I suppose, look at a couple of stats just to set the scene for marketing in 2015. So a couple of the stats that we currently sort of have to hand is around 80% of emails are now read via a mobile device. So obviously responsive communication is the art of the way things are happening in marketing today. Forrester predict around 59 seconds are spent on average on a homepage before you lose that opportunity to convert or engage with somebody, and 70 to 90% of the buyer's journey completed before engaging a vendor. They say Forrester do by 2020, customers will manage 85% of their relationship without even speaking to a human. So very important to have an online presence with content. And talking of which, research found that emails that have relevant content to the needs and interests of the recipient drove 18 times more revenue than just generalized broadcast email. So really, marketing today is all about the right content to the right people at, of course, the right time. Here's some stats from HubSpot from their latest sort of studies and surveys that they've done, sort of showing the practice of inbound marketing, which is really what today's presentation kind of centers around. HubSpot reports there's average savings of around $20,000 a year by investing in inbound versus outbound. And generally, inbound marketing can cost 62% less per lead than traditional outbound marketing. And of course, we know it's far more effective. And some of the trends we're going to cover today will kind of prove that and show you how you can make your marketing more effective in today's marketplace. The survey here just quickly showing the top inbound marketing projects by company, B2B and B2C companies. B2B companies place a higher value on educational formats like blogging and webinars, whereas consumer businesses are slightly more willing to experiment with advanced digital formats like interactive content and online tools. Infographics also rated very highly as a preferred way of communicating a message to the market in our modern day and age. So what we're all here for today is the 5 trends to watch in marketing and sales, and these courtesy of obviously our friends HubSpot over in the US that have put together and shared this presentation with us today. So first up is adaptive databases. It's one theme for this generation of marketers, and it's around data, not just the standard analytics anymore or form fields, but big data that is continually growing and feeds automatically into adaptive databases. So here's a mind-blowing figure for you to sort of set the scene. 90% of the world's data, you may have already heard this one, has been created in the last 2 years. Now that's according to Syntef, an independent research organization. So databases have begun to evolve from static upload and manual entry focused entities to a more adaptive living organism that actually tap into the vast array of this big data that's floating around and available quite freely now across the web. As you can see here, email marketing databases naturally, if you don't do anything, degrade by about 22.5% for starters. Particularly if you have a B2B database, because of course people change jobs, they change emails, they opt out, and your audience just begins to dwindle. So one of the important things to think about in 2015 is having a static database that only updates just randomly when new data is uploaded is actually going to quickly grow stale and become less effective. So it doesn't matter what you're marketing, if the database itself isn't active, it's not going to be reaching the right market for you. HubSpot actually has a free tool that you can use if you want to have a play with this. It's a simple calculator to access how many new visits and leads you should target to compensate for this natural decay. You'll find it at hubspot.com/database-decay. It's a little bit simple and rudimentary, but it's a good start for your goal setting in 2015. So it's not just pure contacts that we're trying to grow, but also information about each contact. Every person on the internet today carries with them an array of data that can be tapped and leveraged by adaptive databases. This is a look at an individual contact record taken from HubSpot, where we pull in every interaction that we have with a lead. This includes pages that they viewed on our website and emails they've opened. through integrations. It also includes things like videos that they might have viewed and times they've mentioned us, a competitor, or indeed a keyword that we care about on Twitter. So what this does is enables two things. One, it gives sales reps a more complete picture of every given sales opportunity so they can cut through the sales pitch and get to what matters to each lead. The end goal here is a more relevant conversation and a better opportunity to obviously close the lead. The second thing it enables us to do is to significantly have more tailored communications from our marketing team. Leads who are nurtured with targeted content generally produce a 20% increase in sales opportunities. Having an adaptive database enables you to deliver significantly more tailored communications. So we can, in moments, create a list or a segment of our contacts based on their interests, their demographics, their psychographics, their behavior, and, of course, really any combination of the above. So it's more likely, as a marketer, that you use adaptive databases to adjust messaging based on the evolving interests and the behaviors of all of our leads. So here in HubSpot's marketing automation tool that's called Workflows, I'm changing the frequency and focus of email sends based on how someone interacts with the first one I've sent. The result for leads and customers ideally is a more relevant experience. So we can use an adaptive database to personalize the content beyond email. And that brings us to the next trend to watch, which is, of course, cross-channel personalization. So cross-channel personalization, we think about personalization a lot, of course, when it comes to email. And that, of course, makes sense. Personalized emails get about 20% higher conversions than generally blast emails. Here's an example of how we personalize subject lines for better opens. We found that the more personal an email feels, the better it does. In fact, we had some great successes with emails that have little or no formatting and read like one-to-one experiences. It's giving that personalization on more of a local level. But one of the things that really changed, I suppose, in the last few years is the expectations that customers have for their entire experience to be tailor-made. Janran found that this stat, 74%, massive 74% of online consumers get frustrated and have said they get frustrated with websites when content appears that has nothing to do with their interests. We live in a time-poor world where we just don't have the investment of time to look for things that are wasting our time. So that obviously stat is something that brings in this personalization. People want personalized content that's relevant to them. Sites like Amazon and Netflix have really done this well because they've trained the consumer to expect personalization everywhere they go on their website, from the inbox, of course, right through to the website and even beyond after they've made a purchase. In-house marketers, as you can see from this stat, who personalize their web experience, see an average 19% uplift in sales. So it really does work by adding in that personalization to what you do. It's all about companies, and it's all about seeing the results that they do by segmenting their databases and actually giving personal experiences around their content and how they deliver it. So to personalize things, you need to look at two things. Firstly, the technology to power it, and also the strategy to make it useful rather than just trivial. On the technology side, the ingredients are an adaptive database, as we discussed before, a segmentation tool, like you see here on the screen, and a personalization engine that you can plug the database into your content tools. We'll show you that next. So here's a look at how personalization actually comes together in this particular example from our engine room at HubSpot. There are two types of personalization happening here. Firstly, the insertion of relevant details from an individual contact's profile into the web page. And then number two is the complete swap of a block of content for a given segment. Every time someone comes to your website, they're bringing with them traces of information, as we mentioned before. Even people coming to you for the very first time visitors, come with information about their country, device, or their referral source. So you can use this to make content more relevant, even if it's their very, very first meeting. So let's take an example on the screen now. If we just have a look at selecting a country. As you can see here, this particular example we're using from HubSpot allows you to select the country of origin. So if we have a look through, there's a whole range of countries. If we go for, say, France, somewhere in Europe there, say we've got somebody coming to our website from France. So we want to personalize some data for them, some smart data. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is look at the data we already have, but obviously the $100 US or Australian isn't relevant to them anymore. So we're going to change that to a particular denomination, which is obviously euro for France. We're going to change that to the equivalent, roughly 90, let's call it 90 euro. And then obviously we are done and we can save that. And then what that does now is creates some smart content. So when the system detects that our inquiry has come from an origin of France, it will then give them this content rather than the content that they had if they were coming from Australia, the US, or other geographic locations. So technology has made this easier for us to do. You need to use software and use capabilities to make it happen. The basic technological components for personalization in your marketing are the same: content tools, a contact database, obviously, and then some sort of personalization engine that marries those two things together. So technology has made this easy for us to do if you've got the right tools to do it. But it's not as easy to do it that well. For this, you need a strategy. You need to know your audience, its segments, where the points of friction are on your website. Personalization needs to be useful. It's not just a case of just having it there, but it needs to be useful. It's not useful anymore just to plop in someone's first name or their favorite ice cream flavor on your homepage. It's useful to elevate industry-specific content to remove unwanted or irrelevant material from your audience. Well, have a look at this example. This was one that shows you an example from Intuit QuickBase. They solved a moment of friction through personalization. The problem was this: when visitors first came to their website, Intuit showed them this call to action you see on the screen. It was to get them involved by downloading an educational ebook and become a lead, which is a great top of the funnel offer that practices that inbound methodology. It was great for a first conversion, but then when people came back to the website for a second or third time, the ebook offer was there again and again. And of course, they've already downloaded and read the ebook, so they've missed, as a company, the opportunity for this second conversion. So what they did was use smart data. They solved it by creating a smart list, one based on the criteria that grows continually of people who had already downloaded the change management ebook. Now, whenever they came back to the website, they didn't see the repeat ebook offer again. Instead, they saw a new offer that sets them up for a deeper conversion in the funnel. Moves them now down the funnel into what we call middle of the funnel. And then again, if they came back a third or fourth time, they could be offered something that would generally bring them down for a connection with the business. So the steps to develop personalization are around the following. It's defining personas. It's determining those decision points that are important and choosing personalization techniques. It's not simply adding someone's first name on there anymore. You need to define that customer buyer persona and then map out their journey so you know what content they need at each point of the funnel. And that brings us on to content, which is another one of our trends for 2015. So diversified content is very important today. On average, consumers engage around 11 or 12 pieces of content prior to making a purchase. Again, a stat from Forrester Research. From Nielsen, they did a survey and found that consumers today are 5 times more dependent on content than they were 5 years ago. And remember, on average, people that are coming to your website are 90% of those are not ready to buy or purchase from you. So they need content that's relevant to solving their issues at the point they're in the buying cycle. So here's some actual notes just to demonstrate this from the HubSpot content team, a planning session that they had recently. As you can see, having a look at a few main points that are on this on your screen now. Number one, you can see there's a diversity of formats being used, from templates to PDFs to ebooks to visual offers. Secondly, you'll see that there aren't all new pieces of content. Some of HubSpot's best content is what we call evergreen content that is refreshed and updated with new information. Number three, finally, you can also note that there's a distinct promotion plan for each one of those particular content levels. These campaigns involve social promotion. They involve emails, website updates, etc. And all of these have to be organized in a unified editorial calendar. So you know what's planning ahead. So it's not reactive, but it's more proactive for the year. Here's an example of a calendar that HubSpot uses. Typical calendar. It's built on the HubSpot, that you can obviously use other basic versions on Google Calendar. But I wanted to draw your attention to how we're doing this. We're delegating tasks and we're scheduling posts from a single unified place. So you can instantly get a bird's eye view to make sure that your content hasn't grown stale and spot gaps in any of the schedules so you can fix them before they happen and as they're happening. So what we're trying to do is get more efficient as a team, but we're also trying to figure out what content is actually working best to drive business. This is a view of a regular report HubSpot runs to see which piece of content, in this case our blog posts, led to a conversion, in this case someone becoming a lead. So that brings us on to growth hacking, which is the fourth of our 5 major trends, which is a really interesting one. It's been around for a little while, but it's certainly gaining momentum. As you can see here on your screen now, growth hacking over the last year, according to Google Trends, has produced quite a lot of interest around the country and indeed around the world. So growth hacking is not actually a foreign concept for most marketers. Essentially, growth hacking is a view of marketing that takes a systematic approach to optimizing conversions. For example, Dropbox used a lot of this growth hacking to actually launch their business. They didn't spend a lot on advertising at all, on mainstream advertising, yet they're today a $4 billion company. How they did it was using social media. Instead of just asking people to like them or follow them, they did something different. They created on Twitter or on social media that if you connected with them or followed them, you actually engaged with a 125 megabyte increase in your user capability. So they gave people a reward for connecting with them or sharing stuff on there. And that's sort of a start of growth hacking and how they sort of started to build up this business and their brand online. But simply put, it's essentially talking about running ongoing and disciplined experiments to increase conversion rates through the funnel, and then scaling those experiments that work. So the ones that work, you want to scale up. The ones that don't, you just move on to the next experiment. A/B testing is probably one of the most common ways of using growth hacking as a test tool. You basically create 2 versions of a conversion page and test which one works the best. For example, would adding a video to a page increase or decrease the conversion rate? We could also use the A/B test principle to find out which leads are likely to open our emails at a better rate. Is it 8 o'clock in the morning or is it noon? Do your leads click calls to action from a home page or from a dedicated landing page? Or perhaps which heading will achieve more interaction? So by constantly testing your landing pages and conversions, you obviously get better conversions and therefore increase the interaction of your brand. Growth hacking also takes historical data and applies it to future actions. In this example, you can see the email and email software telling us in the yellow boxes what send times have historically led to the optimal open rate. What's interesting about this is HubSpot is that the software will start off with giving you benchmarks for how well the sends do for most of our customers. But then as you send email, that send time optimization will adapt to your specific email results, showing you what time and days have historically been best for your company. So an email where it's such a numbers game, this kind of focus on optimization can really radically change the results you get. If you're not getting the cut through or the open or the conversions from your e-marketing campaigns, this is sort of one way to start looking at how you can actually to get it right and send it at the right times when it's going to get more conversion and more interest. So the final trend to discuss today is really this new word that you may or may not have heard called smarketing and accountability. And this is where we bring sales and marketing together. According to corporate executive board studies, 87% of the terms sales and marketing use to describe each other are actually quite negative. So yet these guys are sharing the same funnel. The funnel just goes on. Sales complains that marketing isn't generating enough quality leads, and marketing criticizes sales for not working the leads that they were given hard enough to convert them. So there you have, they're both in the funnel. The sales process, though, starts long before a lead even talks to sales, and the marketing process doesn't even end once a sales rep picks up the phone. So really it makes sense for these 2 departments, sales and marketing, to talk and work together. Hence the word smarketing, which is really where sales and marketing are aligned on buyer personas, on company goals for the whole organization, and obviously the operational structure and process of how leads are handled throughout the organization. So the stepping stones to marketing are basically as follows. You need to agree on the target personas and goals, implement a service level agreement, set up closed loop reporting, and then at the end of it, add a bit of pizza and beer just to really bond the two departments together if need be. So let's just touch on those a little bit further. Getting on the same page starts with a core understanding of who you're actually selling to, whether it's marketing or whether it's sales. It's the same thing. What his or her needs are and where their common objections lay. This keeps sales from arguing that marketing doesn't send quality leads if you both agree on who the target market or buyer persona is. Once you've got this in place, we then need to sit down and create a service level agreement or an SLA. So to keep this simple for this presentation, let's just take an example. Let's say, for example, that we're taking a sales goal of, say, a revenue goal of $500,000. As you can see here, the average customer in this organization pays $10,000. And that means that you're going to need 50 new customers to actually achieve that goal. If your historical lead conversion to customer is around 2%, then you just do the maths upwards and you end up with 2,500 new leads that you need to create to achieve that revenue goal of 500,000. So again, this is an SLA agreed between marketing and agreed between the sales departments. If we then take this simple principle and we go further up the funnel, and we have a look at the fact that we now know the visitor to lead conversion rate is 3%, then we can look at the top of the funnel. And as you can see here, we need 80,000 new people or visitors to our website at the top of the funnel to actually then trend down towards our original goal, which is to get 500,000 in terms of revenue. So this is the SLA agreed again between marketing and sales, and everybody's on the same page about what needs to be achieved. But obviously it's important to track this as you go. And we've taken this is a service level agreement built into everything that HubSpot does. And as you can see, this is a tracking goal that shows you day by day what's actually happening. The goals in this have been set by the SLA. The gray is the target. Towards the bottom there, and the orange is the actual. As I said, measured every day, so each sales department and people in the marketing department can actually measure this and adjust it during the month if they need to, if they're falling behind the actual goal of the month. The actual added benefit is that each team member from each department also gets sent a regular email, daily, weekly, or whatever, that keeps them focused on their particular goal. So everybody knows, so there's no scary parts at the end of the month where people haven't achieved what they set out to achieve at the beginning of the month using this data and measuring it as you go. You can also drill down further with this particular software to see which channels are converting the best leads and double down on the marketing of those. So what's working best for you, you put more effort in. What's not working for you, obviously you can move sort of away from that. So this is technology really helping you, and to help it even further, really integrating the sales and the marketing departments together, you need to integrate the actual software that you use for each one. So for example, we've been using examples from HubSpot. Obviously, HubSpot integrates seamlessly with Salesforce as a sales tool. And as you can see here, the marketing data is being pulled directly into the sales funnel so that the salesperson, before making a call, has a complete 360-degree view of the lead before making any content. They know where they are in the buying funnel. They also know what content they've downloaded, what their interests are, and a whole bunch of other intelligence questions that you can sort of see here that are appearing on the screen. It makes the sales call so much more effective, and obviously helps the sales team convert that lead into a customer. HubSpot also believes in the importance of closed loop marketing, which is really what this all comes down to, that they developed this last year, the free CRM for those businesses or smaller businesses that haven't invested in Salesforce or Sugar CRM or some of those other sales CRMs. This particular CRM is fantastic. It comes free with any HubSpot account and does the same sort of thing, tracks through to the sales department, the whole buying funnel and marketing funnel for each particular lead source. Here's a quick example here where you can see the history of interactions that the leaders had with marketing and how marketing can ensure that the leads are being followed up then appropriately. So that sort of shows you how that CRM can actually work really well. So just as a recap, then the 5 trends for marketing in 2015, number 1 was the adaptive databases, 2, personalization across multiple channels, 3, having diversified content available to a diversified audience, number 4 is growth hacking, and number 5, as we've just covered, is marketing. So hopefully there's some things to pick up there. As I said, this has been recorded. If you do have questions, please throw them into that chat room so we can answer them for you towards the end of the session. But right now we're going to move into a case study, as we mentioned at the beginning, because obviously using the HubSpot platform, you've seen how it can be used. We're now going to hear from Andrew, who actually has used this platform in his own business as a chief marketing officer. So, Andrew, if you're ready, I'm going to make you, just bear with us, everybody, as we cross over to Andrew, who's over in Perth, to take the next presentation.
Sure. Thanks, Tony. From my perspective, I want to give all of the attendees today a perspective from a user's perspective on the HubSpot system, and go through some of my achievements, but also really what I wanted to highlight is the impact from a marketing and sales perspective in using one simple system, one inbound marketing platform, I guess in turn an inbound marketing and sales platform now that the new CRM is coming on board within 2015, but to train one team within one system that is integrated with all of the tools, the strategies together is paramount for 2015 marketing. So the first slide I wanted to share straight off the cuff was the return on investment from my experiences using HubSpot within just 1 year. We were able to attract a 72% increase in average visitors month on month, and that was simply based on solution-based content that was relevant to our target market, enabled a lot of people to come back to our site over and over, but also attract new potential customers. Converting leads, we were able to increase our lead conversion by 305%. Previously to HubSpot, we were focused on the hard commitment, the trials, the hard videos, the decision-making content. Whereas what we did is we transferred our whole entire system over to a nurture-based lead generation system, where we're actually hitting the target market at the very forefront of the buyer cycle, and therefore we're nurturing contacts and prospects through the channel, which enabled us to generate a huge amount more leads. And that was in excess of 1,300 plus leads in comparison to just 208 trials throughout the year previous. And those figures resulted in a 26% report revenue in growth for the company, which was the highest revenue growth within the 15 years of the organisation. And that was also a 40% increase per region sales year on year. So it had a significant impact implementing HubSpot just in the first year. But what I wanted to do first of all is I wanted to give everybody an indication of the reasons why I changed to the inbound methodology. And back in about 2005, I was researching with another organisation and really trying to understand the buyer persona. And what was significant at that particular point in time is the buyer habits and the buyer behaviour had significantly changed. Back in 2000 or prior to 2005, I was noticing a lot of the internet was booming at that time. SEO and SEM was booming. Banner ads, that type of thing, were all over the website, and people were making instant decisions. Marketing was almost that little bit easier at that particular point in time. Whereas as we move forward, 2005 plus, the buyer persona has so much more intelligence and information at the research stage of the buying cycle. The internet, social media has changed the way that we interact and exchange information. There's so much intelligence, so much content that people are now researching a huge amount more online. They've got access, or our buyers have access. 73% of consumers say positive customer reviews help trust businesses and influence decisions. We all know the impact of forums and sites, Yelp, TripAdvisor. People are basically making a lot of consumer decisions based on what people's reviews are online. Again, 88% of customers consult an average of 10.4 sources before engagement. That just typifies the amount of research that is happening prior to engagement And 85% of the buying decisions, much like Tony said earlier, are made before any human interaction. So our buyers have now become researchers. Our buyers are now online. They're more adept with information. They're asking more questions. They've got a lot more information, and therefore I knew that my whole entire marketing strategy back in 2007, 2008 had to evolve with this particular persona. Through the HubSpot system, as I mentioned earlier, it's one system that gives you a whole load of information, a whole load of tools, a whole load of intelligence to better or gather better context about your prospect needs, behaviors from every single digital touch point through the system. On the left-hand side here, you'll see that I've have a row of media channels, social media, web landing pages, blog, email, and forms. The context is what I believe is the most important thing through these forums, through these tools. Understanding the buyer industry, indicating their buyer position, reading blogs, clicking on our tweets. I'm using all of the tools within the HubSpot to actually gather intelligence and gather behaviors from my prospects. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, I'm now delivering the content through those same channels, those same touch points, but knowing the behavior at the front end, I'm now delivering personalized content relevant to the prospect and relevant to where they are in their buyer's journey. So I'm still using all of the same tools, just for two different points of view. This is extremely important from all the intelligence that we gather online to make sure that it's targeted, relevant, and valuable content. Tony mentioned it earlier in one of his earlier slides. It's about publishing the right content in the right place at the right time. And it's important to note that every single lead that comes through, or every single prospect that comes online, is certainly not at the same level. We cannot treat every single lead the same, and we can't action them in the exact same way. People are at all different stages. On the left-hand side here, we look at this as the awareness stage. At this stage, people are trying to learn about the problem, needing to learn tips, information, trying to understand exactly what they can achieve online through that research stage. So that's where we actually publish, or I in turn published, editorial content, white papers, ebooks, and infographics, so that they could actually find the information through search engines with the right content that then delivers the information across to our website, our call to actions. The consideration stage, this is when they've actually moved across and they understand that they've addressed their goals, their challenges, and now it's a little bit more based on benefits of what they're actually looking for, solving their issue. And that's where you can incorporate things like videos, live interactions, webcasts, expert guides, and comparisons. This is where they're now looking to see whether this is the right decision to make. Moving forward in the decision stage, that's exactly where the salespeople primarily get involved, where they're delivering live presentations, vendor comparisons, case studies and trials. That's the hard commitment. That's the commitment where we're helping them make the decision on which product they should buy. So basically, the core behind this is making sure that we're publishing that right content to where the buyer is, and that's where I believe the adaptive lists, the person or the personality within the information that we're gathering online tells us all of this particular information. And finally, closing the customers, maximizing conversions. Within the HubSpot system, again, it's all available. I'm personalizing my emails within every single feed from my marketing database, gathering all the intelligence and making sure that my content is 100% targeted and resonates with my market. I'm setting up automated bounce back emails and in turn workflows without me actioning anything, setting these up and triggers follow-up emails to actually resonate with that market and with that persona and nurture them to the very next stage. Analytics. HubSpot is full of analytics that we're tracking every single day, seeing which traffic sources are generating the most leads and other insights. We're looking at what type of information is converting, what our landing page conversion rates are, whether a particular blog content or an author is tracking higher than the rest. It's all available within the HubSpot system. I'm only looking at one system for all of this together. And lastly, the HubSpot CRM. I've been using the HubSpot CRM in beta form for the last 2 to 3 months. And the one thing I will say about the HubSpot CRM, not only is it incredible from a sales perspective and the intelligence that we're gathering through the marketing system and the intelligence that sales can then take to that very first call, but the HubSpot CRM I see is all based on motives and tracking contacts, tracking contacts and companies based on interactions. It's not the typical CRM system where it includes tasks and it includes follow-ups, but it is all purely based on actions. Every single day I'm sitting on my email account, and in the bottom left-hand corner of my emails, I'm seeing small interactions of prospects searching the internet, searching pages, downloading guides. I'm tracking them straight in my inbox, and it's giving me valuable insights right to my screen. So within this whole entire system, within the HubSpot system, I've been able to generate a huge amount of more leads, huge amount more traffic to our website, a huge amount more dollars in the bank, based on understanding how to use a system, targeting the right prospect at the right time, understanding who my buyer persona is, and using all of the tools within this particular system to leverage and generate these results. What I'll do now is I will pass it back to you, Tony. Hopefully that gives everybody some type of insight on using one individual single platform for all of their marketing results.
Fantastic, Andrew. That was really insightful. I think one of the questions I was going to ask is actually around, we talked about smarketing before. So how did you find, obviously your lead conversion rates increased, I think you said by over 300%. Did you find that, working with the sales department, how did that did they find they were more effective by getting more qualified leads from marketing?
Definitely. Smarketing for me was one of the areas which took a long time to implement, but when implemented, just getting the two departments to work together was I guess a big factor in the results that we were able to achieve. What I did working at Globe Software, Tony, is I developed a new department where the sales and marketing sat together, and I called it the revenue team. Mm-hmm. As soon as people understood themselves as salespeople, and as soon as people understood themselves as marketing people, it became a mismatch, like you said earlier. And I think by integrating them together, knowing that they're actually working towards the same common goal, they're working towards revenue, and just by understanding that they're working together, making sure that the marketing team knew exactly what a marketing qualified lead was and what was expected by the sales department, and vice versa, where the sales department or the marketing team really wanted to understand how the lead was tracking through the system, how it was getting followed up, and working together for that common goal was a massive contributor to the overall success of our business. Again, it's not something that was an overnight success, but as we worked at it, had many meetings, many communication meetings together, we were able to successfully achieve the results as per what was seen in the screen earlier.
Wonderful. I like the idea of the rebranding or renaming it the revenue team, because that really brings everybody onto the same page. So it's not the us and them, the sales and marketing, it's the revenue team. which is really good. So we have got time, a few minutes at the end for questions. If you do want to use that chat facility, you have any questions for Andrew or any of the presentation, please type them in now. On your screen is some details for the HubSpot user groups, which are free events that are, and communities, if you like, that are ran both in Sydney and Perth. So Andrew and I will actually be running the Perth, the very first Perth HubSpot user group that's coming up. But firstly, Sydney, if you're in the Sydney area, then that's the address to go to. You can register for the free event, which is happening on the 18th of February at the Porter, which is in O'Connell Street in the city. From 5:30 till 7:30, an evening event, but you can mingle with like-minded people, and it's not just people using HubSpot, it's anybody looking at inbound, it's potential future users of marketing automation, but it's a great way to sort of get around in a community that's really working towards this new wave of marketing. In Perth, our first Hug event is Thursday the 26th of February, and as I say, Andrew and I will be there with a number of others, running a bit of a panel discussion and meeting everybody. That's happening at the Vic Hotel in Hay Street, Subiaco, again in the evening from 6 p.m. So please take note of those two different things. If you're in Sydney, join up for the HubSpot user group, great little community, and the Perth one as well. If you do have any questions, which I don't think we have anybody, I think everybody is pretty much completely information overloaded, which is fantastic. But please, if you have any questions following this, you have my email address, so email me through a question if you do have one. Actually, yeah, we do have one. We do have one for you from Jenna. So, Andrew, did you also increase blogging during this period, or was the increase in leads due to correctly following up and offering specific steps to those already visiting your site?
Look, it was all of the above. Blogging, for us, the challenge behind blogging is, I guess we're in a very technical, niche industry, and therefore blogging was always that little bit more challenging for our organisation. But it was an increase in all of those trends and all of the points that you mentioned before. One of the big things that I did, which personally generated me the biggest and the most amount of results, were the adaptive databases and the personalization, and really filtering people through that buyer journey with targeted content online. But again, to answer the question, my blogging increased, my social media increased, the time that we put into the website with new content, with dynamic call to actions, with dynamic smart forms to get buyer intelligence, everything together increased, and that's how we felt we were able to generate those results. I don't think working on one isolated area is going to work as well as a combination of all of them together.
Did you use your, obviously blogging, I think it's such an important part. I know we've covered this in earlier webinars. I think it's like at least 2 to 3 times a week you should be blogging, I think they say. Frequency is everything, and obviously relevant content. But did you share your blogs obviously across social channels like LinkedIn and things like that? So obviously you use the blog to increase across those other networks?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our blog site was extremely important from an index page perspective for SEO, but also to really understand understanding my buyer persona pain points and answering a lot of those sort of pain points at that time. It was an incredible, I guess, system to roll out, deliverables and distribution through everywhere that I could possibly get, through the website, a lot through social channels, through LinkedIn, and that's where a lot of our target market was based, through Twitter, and publishing direct communication via newsletters, and also through our sales team. We were arming our sales team with a huge amount of collateral from our blog posts that they could then send on to people who are at that different stage of the buying cycle. So that almost worked as well as any other distribution point. But it was very important from my perspective that one blog post was distributed via 5 or 6 or 7 different channels, and that's how we were able to generate the results of increased traffic, but making sure that our blog post wasn't just content driven. It was delivering more and more information that the buyer or the customer at that particular point could download or could attain, so that they see that every single blog and every single post that we were delivering was high content, which enabled us to increase our subscription rates and also retention of customers.
Fantastic. All right, well, we're just about out of time, so thanks for that question. If there are any other questions, as I said, please email us through there, and if you can attend those free events in either Sydney or Perth, that would be great. And if you're in Perth, look forward to meeting you at a Perth one, also in Sydney, where we're based here as well. So thanks very much for everyone attending. We will share this recording so everybody can have a look at it if you've missed anything. There's a lot of content in there, a lot of trends, a lot of exciting things happening in marketing. But Andrew, thanks for your company today.
Thanks, Tony.
And thanks to everybody for joining us for our webinar about the 5 trends of marketing. We'll keep you posted of our future webinars coming up. But in the meantime, have a great day from us. Goodbye. Thank you.